I am interested in that last question, because I think if we don't have teacher support, this is going to fail. And I don't think teachers need to have the only voice in this matter. But when I read these are filled with malice and bitterness and hatred for the most part. And I think that there will be a serious attempt to undermine the effort if we don't get everybody on board.
I think the teachers will do whatever is asked of them. I mean, we have some pretty strong teachers, and we always have done anything in the past and will continue to do so. I think the hard thing is we're so accountable. I mean, you just presented at the beginning of the year on how to get our D up from an A, and now we're being forced to consolidate. There's a lot on the plates. They want to be good teachers. They want to provide quality instruction, and now we have to figure out, okay, how do you do that now with consolidation and less teachers? And so there's just a lot of issues thrown at them right now, and they want to do a good job at all of them, and they will. They'll step forward and they'll give you 110%. And we have in the past. I mean, this isn't the first issue that's come up where there's been some controversy. But I think in time, it'll take some time and a lot of just explaining how things are going to be done. They want to know. They want to see, where am I going to be? Is there going to be a room for me? Am I going to have to share? Some of those things have not been explained to them at a teacher level. And so that helps them be reassured, okay, this is possible. And they will. They'll give you 110%. But there's a lot on our plate. I mean, they want to do well. They want to bring our Fs, our Ds, our Cs up. They want to get good scores on their evaluations. So now you're asking them to help consolidate and get 100% of that. Something has to give. So, what's the priority? What is going to give so we can give 100% to something else? Because there is a lot on their plates.
Going back to that, Ted, I think another concern is the new testing, the park. I mean, we had a PLC this last Wednesday, and we were looking at the park, and that test is difficult. You can ask anybody that has looked at it. It seems like they're setting us up to fail. And so we're looking at, okay, if we consolidate, are we going to have the technology there to do the testing? Are we going to have, the space and things? And another thing, going back with teachers, as Christy said, we have some teachers that are very willing to do that. They're excited because they'll have that vertical. They'll be able to use one another, the resources and things like that. So that's big, and I think they look forward to that. But just some of the underlining things like the testing and the computers and those type of things, those are big, big concerns for us. I'm sure for everyone else here too.
We start testing in February. I mean, from February till May, we're testing, and we're waiting right now to see whether or not we're going to have the computers to test everybody. We're having to, rotate them in. Half the grade level gets to test, the other half grade level gets to test. They don't have maximized opportunity to be successful and everybody test at one time. So, figure in a whole nother grade level and add 4 grade levels into the whole testing scenario at one time. It's stressful. We want kids to do well. Not only do we want them to do well for us, to show what they've learned, we want parents to be proud of them. And that, those are the things we worry about. So there's a lot on our plates.
And I just want to address the surveys. I think if they were filled with malice, and I forgot what else you called it, but I think that part of it is that teachers really weren't given an opportunity to express their views before the surveys went out. And so people did come in fairly, I mean, I'm going to tell you, people are filled with fear right now. They don't know if they're going to have a job. They don't know if they should be figuring out, should I be looking at other schools? And so I think when they started filling out those surveys, and I think a lot of them came from parents, I hope, but I'm sure a lot of us in the district are teachers and parents. I think that they just had an opportunity to be in on those pre-planning stages. I think Ms. Alm did a really good job last week of, just expressing that, we would like to have had an opportunity to give our creative ideas. Ms. Medina had to come up with a plan for her school you know, this is her first year and a half at Raton Middle School. Had she been able to incorporate, and I know she did talk to her teachers, but had she been able to really get a feel for that building from the teacher's perspective, her plan might have looked a little bit different. But she just had to put something together to present to the board. So, you know, I think there's a lot of not full planning given to us, and I know the decision is writing on all of this, but I think that had teachers been given an opportunity to really think this through and plan it out, you know, give us a year to do it. I bet they could come up with some dynamic ways to make this all work. And then you would have people who feel like it's part of their plan. It's not a top-down directive, and that's how it feels. And so if those are filled with malice, that would be my opinion, is that people are afraid and they feel like they haven't really had an opportunity to voice themselves in a positive manner. And so, yeah, we come before the podium, we're a little ticked off, you know, or I'm a little bit afraid. And so, you know, it may come out very negatively. I think almost everybody agrees something has to be done, but I think we need to really have a good plan in place. You know, and I know schools around the state, I've talked to a lot of people, I know it's going all over the state, probably all over the country too. Mr. Ware is aware of it, but I just think we have to have a good plan, and maybe we could do it by next year. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a possibility, but I agree with Christy and Olga that we've been through a lot of things in this district, and for the most part, your teachers are 110% here as teachers, and they want to do a good job, and you tell us to move, and yeah, we might complain about it, but we will probably roll up our sleeves and do what we're told. And I just have one more comment and I'll shut up. You know, I know you guys, 4 of you, I think, are up for re-election in February. Is that correct? And I just think if you make this decision and you don't run or you don't get re-elected, you're setting up a really intense situation for a new board coming in. And I think that's something that you should really consider, because, you know, we'll be behind you 100% if you're going to be here to see us all the way through it. But there's a chance that some of you might not be here. And that makes us a little uneasy as well. Who will those people be, and how will they take this whole conversation? I think that's something we need to consider.
Make one more comment, just because this has been weighing on my heart heavy. You look at the data and the figures and where we're at, and to me this is a no-brain decision. I think that no business in this country would operate the way we operate our schools. And that's what I bring to this board is some business background. But the thing that really holds me back is this right here. And I have to look at you guys in the face every board meeting, and you guys teach my kids. I've got skin in the game too here. I've got 4 kids in this school system. And so I guess my thought is, until we can get a little bit more grassroots effort, we need to maybe hold back a little bit. I don't know what you guys think, and I don't think this has to take a long period of time either. I think that there needs to be some input on behalf of the teachers on some challenges that they would see at their level. So that's.
I guess I'm agree with Ted. I mean, and I appreciate what Pam said and all the principals. I'll just throw it out there right now. I'm gonna make a motion that we table this. And I'm not gonna put a date on it. If we want to do it at the next meeting, but with that, before I even wait to see if there is a second, what I want to go with it is not necessarily the principals, but maybe the principals get a couple teachers from their school. I'm willing to sit down and meet with them. Not this week, gonna be gone. But guys, we got to do something, and I think you all can appreciate that. We don't have all the answers. Yes, this has almost gone too fast for me. And I can appreciate Neil moving forward with this. It's something we gave him, but I think it's gone a little too fast, and I think that's how some of the teachers feel, that you're left out of the circle. But if you guys could at least get some teachers, meet amongst yourself, come back with, if you can come with a better idea how we can make this work. but we've got to do something, and we have to do something before budget time. I mean, because we can't go another year doing what we're doing. Okay, I don't know, I mean, we've had 3 meetings. I guess what I would like to do is have a couple teachers from each school. You guys get together. You know, I don't know whether you even need somebody necessarily to head it up, but if you guys can come up with what Ted said, we've got to have, you guys got to be behind it. And I know Pam said everybody would roll up their sleeves and get behind it. I understand that, but we need to be behind it going in. Feel like you're part of the whole process. I don't think it's going to do any good for me to come to Columbian and meet with you and your teachers. That's just me. Maybe they do, but I feel that is not time well spent.
And I don't think that's the board's job. I think that Neil has done a fine job of kind of getting some options on the table. And the board's job is to approve or disapprove them. My only concern is, and in my dealings with my constituents and who I talk to and who I look in the eye every day, I don't get the sense that everybody's on board. And I don't know if everybody has to be on board, but we need more on board than we got now.
And what's difficult is you have a lot of teachers who would like to be here, but because they have kids playing sports or doing things.
I understand that, and that's why I want some of you to get together at your schools, and then collaboratively between the 5 schools, let's make a plan. But something else that I want you guys to kick around, and I know the teachers are for it, and that's not necessarily where I'm going, or most of the teachers are. If you look at these surveys, which are 500 and some, which I thought was pretty good representation of 1,000 kids, 3 to 1, they want a 4-day week. And that's one thing I voted for. I know the board voted it down 3 to 2 on kind of a ghost vote or whatever you want to call it. But I think it's something that we may need to pitch back out there. I don't necessarily agree with Ted says we're going to lose staff, maybe upper staff. I don't see us losing many teachers because we're going to have the same kid. I mean, same kids minus 50 or 60 that we seem to lose every year. But as far as having to go in, I don't know, Neil, am I wrong that we're going to have to, other than teachers that are retiring, do you see that we're going to have to cut staff? And now, when I say staff, I'm talking teachers.
Professional staff out of operational funding. I don't know yet. We've had teachers let us know in June, and even as late as July.
But I mean, with changing this, if you move the 3rd grade to the middle school, the 3rd grade teachers are going to have to go with them.
Yeah, the idea is that ideally, there won't be any teachers lose their job professionally.
See, that's what
because we have the same number of students that we had before.
Right.
One thing I would say about personnel, though, if I might, real quickly, since that's the thing I have to do, is it's not really very sensitive to go to a custodian or a librarian or an administrator and say, in March or April, you don't have a job,
Right.
when they could know in January or February. So just keep that in mind, too.
Which is why I don't agree with the timeline. I think we revisit this in January and try and, that gives everybody a month, and that should be an adequate enough time to meet with some people. And I realize it's the holidays, whatever else, but I agree. I think this is time sensitive, but I still don't think we have what we need.
And one thing that Mr. Camp said, and I'm going to take this to the bank, is that he said that this is not a board responsibility, this is a superintendent responsibility. So the criteria for garnering information among staff will be teacher leaders to teachers, not administrators to teachers, okay? That's the criteria. And I know that sounds distrustful and mean. I do want to avoid the perception that people are out there doing things that are not appropriate when they're not. Because I think we have a great administrative team, and I trust that. But the perception will be out there if the administrators are leading this. I think it should be teacher leaders, and they're perfectly competent and capable of doing it, maybe even more so than I am, I would say. So.
Go ahead, Art.
I'd just like to second Beaver's motion.
All right.
Before we do that, though, I'd like to say something, because I'm representing from a teacher's standpoint, and I empathize with every single person in this room. But I think consolidating these schools would be a positive change-up. It seems to me we don't have any labs coming through the high school science classes at this point. This is the perfect opportunity to start mixing it up and getting things hopping around here. I feel like it's really important that we start using, all of you guys are talented teachers. My God, I've worked with a lot of you. You know what I mean, you've got so much you can give, but we're not using it. We're not using it at all. And I think this consolidation thing would be wonderful. It would help the vertical teaming. And you guys knew that I liked the curriculum, the mapping and all that business way back when. She remembers. But anyway, but it would be vertical teaming. You'd actually be helping the kids more than you are right now. Some of these programs, FCCLA, if the 7th graders were up at the high school, my gosh, they could do, this is almost talking about all the great things some of our past kids have done. Can you imagine what they can do if you get these programs streamlined? Oh my gosh, the FFA, these kids can start in 7th grade. I mean, it's endless what you guys can do with these kids. Do you have a lot on your plate? Huge amounts. It's huge. But I think you guys could just use your talents so much more. And the other thing is, I think I recall long ago when a lot of the schools that had to, their budgets wouldn't support everything, they would lose their art program or their music program. We don't want to lose that. I mean, we want to keep those. So if we consolidate, we'll be able to save those types of, the staff that takes care of those, because fine arts are wonderful. So, I mean, I think we need to look at it from another side. It's scary. I hate change. This last year and a half of retirement have been horrid. I hate it, but I'm getting used to it now, okay? So, I mean, but we all have to go through that, but I think it's for the kids, and I think it would work. So I would suggest that if you guys would look at like this option 2, have the teachers, I mean, look at it from, see how the scheme would be in the school, and those people that would be teaching, might be teaching grades 3 through 6 at RMS, you look at what it would look like and put your ideas in there. And then those 7 through 12, you folks look at what Mr. Ware put together and see what, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I don't like that. I want to do, yeah, you should have input, most definitely. But I'm kind of like him. I felt like everybody's really negative. But on the flip side, it could be such a positive thing for a lot of people. And it could do so much for our kids. So that's just my take.
I'd like to call for the questions.
All right.
Oh.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made. I would like to amend the motion that we revisit in January, though.
I'll accept that.
Okay. So we'll vote on tabling resolution 2014-15 till the January meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, we'll move on.